on Friday, and it's Phil Harrison against Shane Thompson. It's a race to 7. We're playing world rules. Shane wins a lag and gets us underway. Filled, the who's who of pool. I've seen the place littered this morning with world champions. Tom Cousins and Sean Chipperfield were having a knock. Of course, Phil Harrison playing on this table. Also making the trip up here today is Neil Raybone, Adam Davis I've seen this morning, Gaz Hibbert, Lee Kendall, Steve Petty, Clint Jansen. It's a great field. There's 192 players, and I have to say the arena is spectacular. It's spread across 2 rooms. We're in the main arena room. There's 5 tables in here, and this glorious main arena table. And across in the other room, there's another 15 tables, and they're all identical. They're all this lovely kind of stone-washed look with the grey superfine cloth. And it's an absolute credit to the organisers and how I've been looking forward to this event. Shane Thompson working his way through this first frame. For many people, Shane is second favourite. Phil, obviously, we all know very well, and we know what Phil's capable of. But I guess what we also have to remember is there's been an 18-month layoff. And I do know that Phil has his own table at home now, so he'll certainly have been putting in the hours on the table. But also, well, anyone who's followed any kind of online lockdown pool during the last 18 months will know Shane has literally never been off the table. And what a great way to open his account, showing no nerves whatsoever. And he wins the first frame. A break and dish. That's exactly how he would have been anticipating this match. And now Phil Harrison gets his first hit on this table. And he finds gravity. That break very synonymous with Phil now. We'll look at it some more throughout the match, but you see him kind of lift his body as he makes contact with the ball, and normally the cue ball hits the front and screws back. When he hits that right-hand rail, the top rail as you're looking at it now, just above the middle bag, but it just got a little nudge that time, and it's normally quite a safe break. You got a little nudge to that top left pocket, much to the annoyance of Phil, but much to the pleasure of Shane, because he gets another look at this table in this race to 7. So there's not a lot of room for error, not a lot of time for mistakes. This is a pretty decent layout. It's not dissimilar from the last layout, actually, with a few yellows in the open, and then those two yellows just below the black, which, if you remember, Shane took one of those to right centre. He's deciding to go reds. He thinks the layout for reds is slightly better. And I think that decision was influenced by those two yellows below the black. And I think it's more so the one just to the left of those two. It doesn't really have a pocket. So he needs to get this cue ball across onto that left side rail. He'll be happy if he leaves this fairly straight. Ideally, probably just off the cushion, just below the middle bag, I would say, would be perfect. He's decided just above the middle bag. It's a safer option. Takes that middle bag entirely out of play, but pretty much just straight. So you can see now that the bottom of those two reds, I think he's looking now, it does pass the black, I think, and to that right middle. It definitely goes to top right, so he'll want to take it to middle if he can, because otherwise he's going to be hamper queuing. Maybe could have queued that just fractionally better. I think he's just a tiny bit lower than he wanted to be. He would have wanted to be just a few inches higher. Now he may have to play it into the top right. So for those of you recently joining us, a very warm welcome. We're Beard Productions, and we're here to witness event 1 of the World Rules 8-Ball Pool Tour. Yeah, as I said, that was his problem, having to play that long up into the top left, and it was just because he just missed that position by a few inches. Didn't quite cue the one to the bottom just as he may have. So yeah, we're here in the Grand Hotel in Blackpool. Right up in here, we've decamped from all the way down in the southwest up into the northwest. It started raining around about north of Birmingham, and it's not stopped since, having left a sunny Somerset. So this should be fairly simple now for Phil. Shane's dealt with a bit of that traffic that Phil had would have caused the yellows a problem. So this is around about as simple as it gets. Just slightly the wrong angle on this, but he can drift across and play this this yellow he's closest to into the middle. As I say, fairly elementary. And I watched Phil warming up earlier. He is a sublime player to watch. He's here with his family. I've come up here for the weekend. There's a little kiss that he wouldn't have wanted. It's not going to affect him in any way. It's absolutely fine. I think he just played to run past that yellow. But, it's caused no problem. In fact, it's absolutely perfect. Yeah, Phil has brought his family to Blackpool. His wife and his 2 kids. enjoying a break at the coast. Again, just it won't cause any problems. Fully expect him to pot it, but just slightly overhitting that one. Just shows a tiny bit of rusty. Oh wow! Well, you can see by the look on his face. I mean, I just said I didn't expect him to miss that, and not in a million years. And that was just simply because he'd overhit it. I mean, and it was more, you know, it's one of them. If you played to land with that angle, let's say there was a ball in the way and you had to play the black from that angle, it wouldn't have been a problem. It was because it was in his head, because he'd kind of just gone past it, and then suddenly it's in your head. And at the start of matches, those are the kind of things that can sway the game, because now he's going to be 2-0 down, and he's going to be, I mean, he's let Shane off the hook, basically. Shane's made a mistake mid-frame, and Shane would have been sat pouting in his chair, thinking he's going to be 1-1, but Phil's totally let him off, and now Shane doesn't care, and Phil's the one who now is thinking, the one that got away. These early frames in the matches that can really have an influence on your mindset for the rest of the game. Apologies, we're just caught up with that one. So 2-0, and Shane would have wanted to get his foot firmly onto Phil's neck there, but he's come up dry, which is not what he would have wanted. If he could have had another breaking dish there at 3-0, really got the advantage. But there's not much you can do. It was a good break. They spread far and wide. It's just not made a ball. And Phil can deal with this little problem down in the left-hand corner straight away. It looks like there's a 4-ball plant. I think it's fairly dead set. Red onto red. The red and the yellow are pretty close together. The camera angle foreshortens it. I think there's a small gap there, so he might have to just make it. But Okay, so another uncharacteristic mistake. Well, a miss. You can't call it. It was an unforced error. It was a tough shot from Shane because he was trying to pop the one in the middle and develop at the same time. But all the same, still a miss. And left Phil with another opportunity. And yeah, these are important frames from Shane. If we could have found the clearance there, as I say, 3-0 is a big lead in this format, this race to 7. Another one from Phil. And judging by the look on his face, you would say that there's no path through to the yellow, but you never quite know with Phil. He can pull that face if he's half an inch out of position. So I think he can get through to this. It's just a little bend. Yeah, you can see him just raising the cue. It's just a little bend. It doesn't need to do much with the cue ball either. So yeah, I fully expect him to make that one. Still not totally out of the woods. Can't quite see the angle on this one on the bottom, but you can see I think he's just got enough angle to stun out. But even then, you need the nice angle on the yellow into the middle because you've got that little barrier of 2 reds protecting the black. So you need to run the cue ball up table, or just be able to screw back. So dead straight or just off straight towards the top of it is going to be no good. That looks perfect. Gave himself a big angle. Now you can just drop it in the middle, run the cue ball through 6 inches. So it's fantastic to have you all on board, and how we've missed our pool. How we've, there's been lots of different things going on in terms of lockdown pool and people playing in their garages and their living rooms and so on and so forth. But to actually have some mano-y-mano competitive pool back on the screens is fantastic, and it's great to be back working with Beard Productions all the way up here in Blackpool. Well, that's 2. Well, I mean that one's unforgivable. The first in off was unlucky, but that one for Phil just to screw in the middle. I mean, he's not timed them at all, and you can see his disgust. He's just stood there by the side of the table, and no doubt. And as I mentioned at the top, you may not have heard me if you've just recently joined us. 2 rooms for this event. Somewhere in the region of 192 players have joined us in Blackpool. I mean, that just shows how keen people are to get back on the bays. 192 players and some real talent as well. A good number of world champions in the field, including Phil and Gaz Hibbett's here. Tom Cousins and Sean Chipperfield, of course. Adam Davis, another world champion. and maybe some future world champions in Deck Brennan, Neil Raybone. People of that ilk. Clint Ianson here as well. And some of the old stalwarts as well. Often Dad's here this weekend. Jimmy Croxton. In fact, we've seen Jimmy. He's sat watching the table. He's good friends with Shane, so he's just sat to the left of the table watching on. Shane's just taking his time with this one. He played a really nice developing shot. But, again, a few issues here. Yeah, you could see him stealing a lot of the bag then. And he's just got an unwanted kiss. And it's left him in no man's land. He didn't want to... I think he'd played to cannon that yellow, but it's just come out horribly, isn't it? I think it's too far past the middle bag, the yellow just above, to cut back in, and I'm not sure he can see the potting angle to pot it to top left, so I don't know what he's got here. I don't think he's got a shot. Mentioned Jimmy Croxton, he's there just to the right of Phil. Looks like a safety. Would have wanted to be another couple of inches across. I think he's still fine. I mean, it's safe. It's just whether Phil can now take control of the frame. That was a good chance for Shane. He'd have been disappointed with that outcome. And you can see, just in the background there's a smattering of people already here. Interested parties watching on. As we see the camera pan across the room, you can see necks craned, watching the other tables. If you want to keep up to date with the scores, you'll find a page on Q-Score. This is called the World Rules Pool Tour. It's easy for me to say. Decent effort, but just overhit it slightly. It was a tricky little shot. And now, again, if Shane can find this opener, which is awkward, to right centre, then the frame's there for him. Again, it's one of those, doesn't need to do anything with the cue ball. You can just drop the yellow in. Now, just before the match, we were just pulling to the bottom of the pocket when you play them dead weight. Yeah, not that much. So Shane really not without his chances so far. He's had good chances in every frame. He's claimed 2 of them, but given away 1, and could it go 2-0 now? And Shane be ruining the fact that actually he's had some reasonable chances to get to 4-0. think Phil was just playing for a little flick. Just needed a tiny kiss on the red and black just to open them apart. I think that red below the black still goes. I think it goes to bottom right. It just would have been easier if he'd had that little glance just to open them, because I think it would have opened them to both pockets. So it just leaves him with just a slightly bigger headache in terms of manoeuvring the cue ball. Let's be honest, nobody better in the game for me in terms of cue ball control. I really don't think that there's anyone better in the game for economy of cue ball in terms of just keeping it minimalistic. There you go, that's that kiss he was after, you see. Just nudge that red out, and it's now made the clearance. Well, I'd say it's made the clearance easier. It's still a little bit tricky. I think he's okay as he can just dig down into this red, into the bottom corner. See, the problem's going to come getting back up table. The red is glued to the side rail, and he can't get position on the one just below the black, so the problem is going to be manoeuvring the cue ball to the two reds in bulk, and if he can, he'll want to do it off this shot, but it's hampered cueing. It's tricky. It would be elementary if he could get to the back of the cue ball unhampered, but is there a little gap just between? I don't think it's quite there. There is a little gap between. Yeah, it's still hampered. I think he has to go up table now. Oh, that's going to make it easy. That was clever. That was clever. With the cue ball on the cushion, it made this next shot really tricky, but just that little glance just to bring it off. Now I'm pretty sure he can screw straight back past the yellow, just missing the yellow to come top of table. Very clever from Phil Harrison. Just under hit that one. Well, I say just under hit. A good 2 rolls under, to be honest. He would have been, his aim point would have been on the cushion. He would have wanted that cue ball on the cushion, would have been perfect. Then he could have dropped the red to the right cushion, to the top right pocket, and left the other one to get his angle down to come onto the black. Now he's got to put in a lot more mileage. He can't hold at the top of the table, so I think he's forced to come down for the one down by the black, and even that positional shot is not nice. He's either going to have to play it with extreme left side, or he's going to have to play it, I think, yeah, he's playing it with left, I think. Gets harder and harder. I mean, it's okay, but yeah, he's just wonder if he's running into these yellows. The red at the top of the table, I think it's just off the cushion, probably like it looks like it's on the cushion from this camera angle, but I think it's probably like a half a ball width away, so he can leave a long shot. Doesn't have to be top of table, and he may be able to maneuver the cue ball through these yellows. And does, finds the gap, and this has been a nice clearance. And if again, it's a bonus if the black goes between the yellows, which again I'm pretty sure it does, then this is just a natural shot. Can just play it with a trace of right hand side to drift down table. Wow, that's again another uncharacteristic miss, and I'd have to assume that the black didn't go between the yellows because Phil's tried to come down that left-hand side of the table, and ultimately that's what's cost him the shot, because he's had to throw the cue at it a little bit more. It didn't look comfortable on it at all. It's one of those shots. If you can just play it as a kind of natural shot, centre cue ball, it's a lot easier than having to kind of dig down on it with a little bit of side. And as I say, that's ultimately what's cost him the shot, because he had to come down that left-hand side of the table. And I just want to say, a little bit, because I came here yesterday evening, got here about 9:30, and I wanted to say a little bit about the organisation of this event, because they've pulled together over 190 players in 2 rooms, 20 tables. The tables just look stunning in this kind of stone-washed effect with the Strachan superfine cloth. They look fantastic, and they had the electricians in here putting up the lights. I mean, you forget what organisation goes into an event like this. The table fitters were in, putting the tables together. Zach Leonard's in doing the levelling the tables, and I mean it's some organisation that goes into it. And Neil Tom's at the centre of things. What an event he's put on. Neil, just an absolute professional at these things. All the players have so much respect for him. Frame number 5. Shane Thompson leads 3 frames to 1. So you'll notice that the score still says 2-1, but that's controlled in the arena. It's not controlled by us. So I think that's a feed taken directly from Q score, I believe. So when the Q score changes, you'll see that change. Normally they have little We'll take a look at that panoramic view of the arena tables in just a minute while we see Phil look at this for a break. Absolutely smashed them apart. Yeah, this was the ball that was going to be awkward on yellows, and Phil's landed on it perfectly. So this is why Phil Harrison's out there playing on the arena table, and I mean, they're talking about him. Stereotypical Phil. The little annoyance that he's not absolutely perfect, but actually he is absolutely perfect. You could see him throw his hand up and look up at the skies. And just like that, 3 frames apiece. And Shane, he just needs to keep his chin up here. He's it's one of those, your head could go down. And there we are across in the main arena. As I mentioned, that arena is probably 30 or 40 meters, well, at least maybe 50 meters from where we're sat, across in a different room altogether. But we've managed to hook up a camera to keep an eye on what's going on over there. And I'll run through some of the games that are in progress in just a couple of minutes. This is Shane's next break, and this is an important frame for him now. Sorry, was this Shane? Yeah, it was Shane, and he's gone dry. So yeah, an important break that was. But Shane going dry. There's not a lot he can do. So currently Neil Toms, the organiser of the event, he's on the hill 6-3 up against Apache Mystery. Nathan Ellis playing Tom Price. Nathan's 5-4 up. Zach Shepherd is playing Michael Davis. He's 6-1 up. Tommy Lewis 4-2 up against Jamie Mantle. Ben Flack currently 6-1 up against Ross White. Sean Chipperfield 4 apiece against Mark Price. Richard Wharton's here. He's playing Glenn Cahir and he's 6-2 up. Adam Davis, of course, ex-world champion, is 5-2 up against Peter Mullaney. Adam also a Supreme Series winner. He's got a number of accolades under his belt. Steve Petty's up here for the weekend. The new slimline Steve Petty is 6-3 up against Ben Lewis. And Daniel Bishop was a substantial favourite with the bookie against Wayne Gardner, and they're currently 5 frames apiece. So those are a selection of the 20 games that are currently in progress. If you want to keep up to date with any of those scores, then please do. Just head across to qscore.com, and if you go to the live tab, you'll see the World Rules Pool Tour main event. Big Phil about to go 4-3. And he's got the frame. He's got the break in the next. So Shane, from being 3-1 up, he's lost the next 3 frames. I think yellow's must be the ball here, but whichever you go for, there's a red and a yellow tied up on that. Being the opener. Yeah, another kiss that he didn't want, but it's landed him in perfect position. So he's going to be looking, I think he's going to be looking to move the yellow closest to the left side rail off of one of these 2 balls, probably the second one of the 2. He's going to pop this one, leave an angle to screw down table, and just nudge that one out. Yeah, he's looking at what angle he wants now. He just showed you where he wants to be. A little bit short of where it looked like he wanted to be, but again, he can just screw off the side rail. Just left this mid-table, and well, if he's got the potting angle, he's left the angle to get into it, but I'm not convinced he's got the potting angle there. I think he was looking to get another 3 or 4 inches across there, but you can see by the look on his face that is definitely not what he wanted. As I say, I thought he was going to screw down off the side rail, and that's from what he was looking at. It maybe was his plan, but I think he just came up short of that position and had to go to plan B. He's definitely not got the angle here. So he's going to have to be plan C now. tricky. Don't think he can see the potting angle to the top corner. It's a horrible little shot to play it into centre. Can he get through? I don't think he can, you know. Well, he's down on it. But I think he's only down on it, cueing it to see if he can get through. I don't think he can. So this is going to leave it awkward, because it's a horrible shot to play to middle, because he's so close to it. And, well, he could, you know. Could just get through. That must have been a whisker. Fairly rattling through these frames. This is going to be the completion of eight frames in probably around about 50 minutes. Again, you can see it's awkward. Just took his medicine. Leave a tougher black. Back yourself to get it. And unlike that first frame where there might have been some first frame jitters, he's not going to miss this one. When he's in his stride, he just don't miss shots like that. So there we go. Scores around the room, across the other tables. And that's now 4 in a row for Phil Harrison. Still time for Shane, but this frame is a must-win. Nearly lost the cue ball there. Nearly lost the cue ball, very fortunate. Hit the knuckle of the middle pocket. You never want to go that close. But actually, the Reds look fantastic. Dot-to-dot clearance. If Shane had gone in off there, it was disaster, because it would have been 6-3 for Phil with the break. But at 5-4, Shane will still feel that he's very much in the match. A table that you would expect Shane to clear, but it's just made it that little bit tricky. That was a nice shot, and he's back in pretty much in prime position now. He can play this red to left centre and come up for the table for the one in bulk. Shouldn't be any drama now. This is a big angle. Again, should be fine. I think he can drop it in and kill the cue ball, but the cue ball, yeah, he's fine. He's fine. I was going to say, that was just one of those shots where your window, your margin for error is not massive. So anything just slightly over hit would have been a disaster because the ball wouldn't have gone to right centre. There we go. How well is he timing this break now? Again, not without its problem. In fact, a couple of problems on this clearance. This is awkward. The yellow and red tied up on the rail closest to us. The yellow on the right-hand side rail doesn't really connect with much. If you go reds again, the pattern's awkward. So a bit of work, and this is what Shane would have hoped for. That of course, one of the other favourites I don't think we've mentioned for the competition this weekend, Declan Brennan and Stevie Dempsey have both made the journey over from Ireland. Looking perplexed. Again, it makes it a little bit tougher, but it's another clearance that you fully expect Phil to get. Goodness. You could see Phil looking at that one. all the way. He played it with a touch of side, and a little stun that you could just see. You saw the cue ball spin across towards the red. Far be it for me to question, but it just felt like would have been more natural to drop down the gap of the two yellows and land further away from the red. I think he can jack up and still pot this, but the problem is he's losing the cue ball. There we go. That was always going to be losing the white, as I mentioned, and that is a huge moment for Shane Thompson. And I said from the outset that clearance was always going to be tricky. But that last shot was unusual. It was odd. That I know Phil likes close control, but I don't know why he's played it across towards the red and not just kind of use the natural angle and drop down between the reds. But gives Shane the chance that he was looking for. Just needs to control this one. Push the other yellow over towards the right-hand pocket without tying up the other yellow. That was the key there. Needed to do that and not tie up the other yellow, and that's why he hit it at the pace he did. Very well controlled. Would have been easy to overhit that one and tie these two balls up and make it awkward. Never going to be an issue really in two shots carry. To underhit that one. I heard a sigh. And I think that was almost certainly emitted from Shane. He's just not cueing through the ball at the moment. Needed to be another 2 or 3 inches up the table to be ideal. But we're making a drama where it's not there because it's as I say, when you have 2 shots carry in world rules, they're just not missing. It's just annoying when you have to rely on plan B because plan A's gone awry. Anyway, there it is. It's this black will seal 5 frames each, and Shane back on serve with the break in the next. Meaning that break in frame number 11 is going to be crucial. Nathan Ellis shaded ahead again. He was 5-4 up against Cue ball. But he's dry. Didn't sound right, did it? Didn't seem to time them very well. I mean, they've split far and wide, but there's still that cluster around the spot, and they just didn't seem to get that burst. And the cue ball was dangerously near that top left pocket. Just didn't time that one properly. He'll be bitterly disappointed that he's handed the reins back across to Phil. And yellows look alright, don't they? Nothing tied up. No real dangers. You feel there shouldn't really be any dramas in this clearance. It's about keeping the cue ball under close control. And if Phil makes his clearance, having the break in the last with the way he's been breaking, then you would make him a very big favourite. Just shows you how big this break was in this frame. Absolutely huge. Amazing how matches can swing on just that one break-off shot. People say the break doesn't matter, but it's the key to the safe. You just don't see where the drama's coming from in this frame, do you? It's an ABC clearance. It's going to be about the angle on these last couple of balls. That looks fine. Just play this with screw off the side cushion to leave this drop in for a straight black to right centre to go on the hill. Phil Harrison, 6 frames to 5. And well, the match is no longer in his hands. The match is firmly in Phil's. He has the break in the next, and Shane would just be hoping for another visit to the table. And if somehow Shane can find his way back to the table, then he would become a firm favourite because he's got the break in the last. So another huge moment. But you fancy Phil the way he's been breaking. He's been timing them beautifully. After the first couple, he went in off and he's just changed his break slightly, come a fraction wider. Needs to time this one. How on earth has he not gone in off? And secondly, it was pretty much the last ball moving. He's timed them so badly that all the balls are down in this bottom half of the table. And it was pretty much the last ball moving that's found its way into that top left pocket. As I say, Shane will be absolutely mortified. Simple. Those aforementioned Irish in the background there. Look, Declan Brennan on the right-hand side of your picture and Stevie Dempsey on the left, exchanging some pleasantries. I think that's already not gone to plan. I think he's tried to run the cue ball through closer to the bottom rail and to do something with these three yellows on the bottom left, but it's horrible, isn't it? I mean, the table's horrible. Missed it. Missed it. So, equally awful for Reds, by the way. But Shane will be very happy that he's even back at the table. Now he's looking at something a little bit inventive. Does that leftmost red, can he play it off of the yellow and maybe open up that bottom, maybe play it in such a way you either cover the bag or, I mean, he won't be looking to cover the bag, he won't be trying to take it defensively. Well, I think he has to, doesn't he? The way these reds are laid out, you have to try and get some kind of control into this frame. I think this is one he's going to have to take to the ground and play dirty. He's looking at that angle again. Shane, a very attacking player, so if he sees something, if he sees a way through this, then he'll definitely be taking it on. But Yeah, even that was tough. Phil's still left with this problem of red and yellow tied up on the left side rail. A lot of traffic around, and not really, if I'm honest, not really that many opportunities to get that yellow out, because he can't attack it from the two yellows that are kind of set together because of the position of the reds. So it's not like you can get position and try and develop from that angle. He's only really, yeah, it's a little kind of little defensive shot to try and take further control. And that's a clever little shot, because Phil would have seen Shane looking at the angle of playing that red off the yellow to open everything up, and obviously he's now closed that path. So he's now firmly in control of the frame. And this is horrible for Shane, because with that shot, Phil's bought himself all the time in the world. There's not really very much that Shane can do about it. It's good thinking from Phil, really. I mean, you know, some people may have tried something outrageous to try and break it all out. Phil just played a little containing shot, and he's left Shane all kinds of bother. I don't know what Shane's got here. He's looking at some kind of deliberate foul to try and ensure that Phil wastes his first shot. Maybe push that yellow. Yeah. No, I don't think he looks very happy with that. So he was just trying to tie things up a bit more. I think he was trying to push the yellow on top of the red to make sure that was tied up, but I think he just underhit a fraction. And I think Phil can open everything here. He's gonna play off the yellow, which is just below the reds, and send the cue ball up into the other yellow, and just open everything up in one shot. And that's what Shane was trying not to leave. There you go. Opened it all. And I think that's going to be that. The writing was on the wall as soon as Phil played that shot, just to take more control of the table. Made it infinitely more difficult for Shane to win this frame. Shane forced into a deliberate foul, but not good enough. And well, you've got to say, Shane, not without his chances earlier on, was he? There was a point where you felt that he could have and possibly should have been 4-0 up. He was actually, he went 3-1, and then Phil just kind of steamrolled back and won the next 4 frames. The dry break at 5-all was the real key. That sent the match the wrong way for Shane. Wow. I think if you had a picture of Phil's face, he'd probably be screwing it up and a bit frustrated, but I think he's okay. It's a bit more angle than he would have wanted, but he's absolutely fine. You can just drop this in and natural ball. There you go. And Phil just administering last rites. And it'll be Shane Thompson will be across into the challenge for him this weekend. But unlucky to him, really. A hard draw to get first up. Picking Phil Harrison, he would have fancied it. He would have fancied his chances. Probably didn't take quite enough chances early doors, so he'll be frustrated with himself. But hats off to Phil Harrison. He has won many of these events already, and he's still in the draw to win yet another one. So most of those games have drawn to a conclusion. Just having a look now to see if I can find out who's next on table 1. And indeed, it's Jimmy Croxton versus Tom Cousins. They're due on at 1:30, so there won't be much of a delay, just enough time to brush an eye on the table. And give us 10 minutes for a break, and you'll see Tom Cousins against Jimmy Croxton. See you soon.